How's it going, everyone? I'm Alexis Lopez TCG, and welcome to my channel. Today, we're going to be looking at our Bloomburrow pre-release. We're going to be looking at some paper gameplay. We're going to start with some deck tech. We started off in red-green and quickly transitioned it to Rakdos, and I'll explain why. And then we'll go ahead and look at one of the matches that we had. We had a total of 3 rounds at the pre-release, and we went 2-1, so we did go positive. One of the prize packs did include a Maha, which is a great pull out of those packs for Bloomburrow. And yeah, one of the reasons I want to show off this match, it was interesting match, very back and forth, very close as well. And there were some misplays that I wanted to call out on my end, just when it came to interactions and reading the cards. So that's always fun to go over when I'm looking at these videos, just kind of get better at Magic myself, and then learn more about the set as we're playing the game. But as always, if you guys like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell notification to let you know when all the videos come out on this channel. All the YouTube algorithm stuff really helps the channel grow, so I appreciate it. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the deck tech. All right, so we quickly see that when we're opening up the pre-release packs, Gruul really pulled us in. When we opened up this packs, we saw a lot of interaction and synergy between the Gruul cards. But as I was setting up the deck and there was like 15 minutes left, I realized that it was mostly creature spells and not a lot of non-creature spells and not a lot of removal within the actual cards. So with this set being like a set that didn't have a lot of mana fixing, it definitely dual colored set that you wanted to do. I started quickly looking for the cards and the synergies that were within the set. I have a lot of otters in this deck, but unfortunately not a lot of cards for Izzet. So I started seeing that I did have a Rakdos mentor, and then I started looking at my black cards, and those black cards had a lot of great instants and sorceries that I can actually put together to really work well and mesh with the red cards, of course making this effectively a great Rakdos deck in the end of the day. One of the main things for the mentor that I was looking at when it came to this Rakdos mentor is the fact that it could let you exile 2 cards off the top of your library when the opponent has life loss. So that lets me really work on deck thinning for this deck. And then I had other cards that actually let you exile cards from the top as well, and then just dick through it. And then if you were in a pinch, the black cards having those quickly removal and having that graveyard recursion as well was a great secondary win con when it came to the actual effects of the deck. So we quickly transitioned over Rakdos, and honestly I think that was the right move. Just seeing that we didn't have enough non-creature spells within Gruul, and then switching over and seeing that Rakdos gave us that interaction that we really needed, and make sure that even if we were in a pinch, we had the interaction for removal. But if we want to start off aggressive and early, being able to have quick creatures that had haste and that also did different things because of the Otter Wizards, that when you played spells also pinged your opponent at the same time, which then triggered the mentor that I had for Rakdos. It all ended up working well together, and I think I had a lot of fun switching over to this actual set. Overall, I think this was a lot of fun for Bloomburrow. I did notice, of course, there's not a lot of mana fixing. So it's an actual set that even when you're drafting, you don't really want to go away from 2 colors. At least that's what I've noticed so far, even what other people have played in the pre-release. And other pre-releases, obviously, like the Mono Horizon one that I saw and that I did, a lot of people were even doing 5 colors, 3 colors with these because of the mana fixing. But in this one, in Bloomburrow, it's definitely 2 colors or bust. I mean, the mentors really help. And there's a lot of mentors that come out at 2 colors, obviously having those synergies, letting you know what you can kind of possibly put together as those bombs and those things that have the effect. So as we finally decided on Rakdos, and let's jump into the match and see how that deck did for me. So one of the good things about a Rakdos deck is that if you want to be aggressive right at the beginning, you have a lot of small red creatures that can quickly put out and do damage. And then once you have like the actual mid-range part of the actual match, Rakdos side really works well together with removal on the black side, and of course those big creatures or hasty creatures that you want to bring out on the red side. So I'm a big fan of Rakdos for that reason, and Rakdos mid-range pretty much is what ended up being for our pre-release deck. Here we quickly mulligan into 6, seeing that we didn't have exactly what we needed. We always try to have at least 2 lands, and then moving forward to seeing quick creatures we can put out in the first actual turns instead of having to wait for big creatures towards the later turns. So one of the cards here that my opponent played, we quickly started seeing, okay, he's going to have black. So he ended up playing a Scavenger's Talent. Now, this was a card that from the very beginning, he had it in both matches that we played, right at turn 1. And this one is whenever one or more creatures you control die, create a food token. And this ability triggers only once per turn. But then when you level it up to level 2, whenever you sacrifice a permanent, target player mills 2 cards. And that's going to be really important. I play Fireglass Mentor, which is the main Rakdos mentor that I had. So I'm glad I had it early. It says, at the beginning of your second main phase, if an opponent lost life this turn, exile the top 2 cards of your library, choose one of them. Until the end of turn, you may play that card. So when it comes to exiling with this actual card, it's not a May ability, it's an ability you have to do every turn. But it really helps out thin your deck, especially in a pre-release when you're trying to get to those good cards early. Sure, it can misfire, but honestly, when it comes to pre-release and having this kind of deck, you always want to get it out there faster. Bonebind already though did show me that he had some kind of graveyard recursion he wanted to do in case he wanted to exile that squirrel from the graveyard and bring other stuff back. And then I did see he played green, so we know he's in Golgari at least. Man, watching this match back, it's just a lot of fun. Like just seeing all the interactions that I had, and just like trying to see what my choices were based on what he played. Right, it's always a lot of fun. Harnesser of Storms, like I mentioned earlier, we had Otter Wizards like really well in red, and nothing to do with Izzet. But this one is whenever you cast a non-creature spell or Otter spell, you may exile the top card of your library until end of turn. You may play that card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Again, this is one of those things where it talked about earlier when it comes to deck thinning, trying to get those cards that you want quickly out and then play it on the battlefield or getting into your hand. And of course, removing the stuff that you don't need in that turn and quickly thinning your deck to try to get those bigger hits. So, starting off really well, we see here he definitely leveled up that enchantment up to level 2, which again really helps out when it comes to sacrificing a permanent on his end and then choosing a target to mill, whether it's himself or me. Here we play Rough Shot Duo, which is Trample, and whenever you expend 4, target creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain Trample until the end of turn. I was looking forward to trying to see if I can get more plays with this, because expending 4 is not that difficult when you're playing Rakdos, whether it's putting spells together and then casting creatures in the second main. It's a lot of things that you can do. Plus, when I'm playing these actual things with the Mentor, having things in exile that you want to play, you're going to quickly expend 4 without too much trouble. Here he blocks my Mentor, one of his creatures dies, and he makes a food token. I went ahead, of course, labeled the food token there for you guys so you guys can see it. But I wasn't too afraid. I'm pretty sure I had something to bring it back from the graveyard here without too much trouble, and I was okay with trying to make sure I hit him. If anything, I was trying to get through to him so I can exile those cards, but I didn't have any lands to play, so I would have lost things just to exile, but so I'm kind of glad he ended up blocking here. Valley Rockcaller, Menace. Whenever Vat Rockcaller attacks, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life. So he only had one squirrel at the time because the X for that is when any number of the squirrels, bats, lizards, and rats. So we saw it as a threat, but not early on. But it is something that we wanted to quickly get rid of. So we'll see like how we manage that later on in the match as well. I'm really glad about like those Mono Horizons 3 lands. They look great, especially in full art and foil. Honestly, they look fantastic. All right, 2 in a red. What am I playing here? Consumed by Greed. So that's actually one of those cards that have the chance of gifting something. So in this case, I do gift the card. When I play this card, its target opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. And if the gift was promised, return the target creature from your graveyard to your hand. So it's a great way to get rid of his creature and a great way to have my Mentor come back into my hand. It also helps him out though because he did sacrifice something. His enchantment lets him create another food token, which whether he mills me out by sacrificing it or he ends up like getting life on it, it was a tough matchup right from the beginning, but I swing as much as I can, trying to bring him down every little chance that I get. Here we go over how a food token is created, like whether you do 2, tap and sacrifice that food token to gain 3 life. And then after that, he also like helps himself when it comes to the actual enchantment trigger on top of that as well. Honestly, I think I really like the deck he built because it had synergy with a lot of stuff that he wanted to do. Obviously, the Golgari, like with the graveyard recursion, making things bigger. It was just like it was a lot of fun to see that deck in play. And honestly, like I said, seeing it now, just seeing this match, like it was a back and forth match, and him like going down in life and then coming back because of the food tokens and all that. Seeing like, oh, early winter. This is a great card. It's a very high cost one, but he quickly exiled one of my creatures here, and again, he's able to remove stuff with black, but at a bigger cost when it comes to that instant. But also, this art on this card is really fantastic, and just seeing this and opening it up, I really like the card. It's one of the things about this Bloomburrow set. It's just the art on these cards are honestly fantastic. Rereading the card because we have to read the cards. There's so much text in these new sets though. That's like the only unfortunate side. That is an enchantment class, so it's obviously going to have more text than usual. And then seeing it for the first time, it's very tough. Bring back the Mentor. We have to. It's part of our like condition to thin out the deck and get the bigger creatures out. So we have to get it out there and see what we can play. All right, mountain, and oh, the glare. I can't see the other card, but I see that we can't play it. And we haven't played a land for turn, so that actually helps us out. We end up playing that mountain. One of the good things about the Fireglass Mentor here is that it quickly made us realize that we have to play a lot of our creatures in our second main phase, or even our sorceries in our second main, because we want to have that that mana up in order to cast any creatures from exile or any cards from exile whenever it's played, based off those triggers. So it made me make sure I focus on that second main as opposed to the first main. Here he plays Cash Grab. Cash Grab is mill 4 cards. You may put a permanent card from among the cards milled this way into your hand. If you control a squirrel or return a squirrel card to your hand, make a food token. Again, food token, sacrifice permanents on top of that class, that enchantment class. That is just synergy beyond belief on like the stuff he showed. I don't know how he got so much synergy in his decks, but it's amazing like what you can pull off in a pre-release. Again, this Golgari deck he had was a lot of fun to see. Going by an Orator, coming back. This one, if you guys don't know, when it's in the graveyard, you can play 3 in a black, you can exile it, and then you return another target creature from your graveyard to your hand. So it really helps out with the graveyard recursion and just returning stuff back to your hand. So you're not really afraid to swing with stuff or block with the Orator in this case. War Squeak, I really like the name of this card, and the art on this is fantastic. So this one, you enchant a creature. When War Squeak enters, target creature an opponent controls and can't block. The creature you enchanted gets +1 and has haste. Now here, it's one of the parts where I should have realized, you know what? Can't really block with that creature. I don't want to be blocking with my mentor anyway. I should attack with both, but I kind of was a little too cautious at the beginning, and I think if I would have been a little more aggressive, it would have been better for me. But it's, you know, you live and you learn, and you see these things as you play the matches, and you're like, oh, I should have been more aggressive here, I should have been more hesitant here. But my thought process, I think, is getting better as I play this game. So this is Dire Sight. So Surveil 2, then draw 2 cards, and you lose 2 life. So obviously Surveil is you look at the top card of the library, and if you don't want it, you put it in the graveyard, and if you do want it, you keep it there at the top. So I put 1 in the graveyard, I grab 2, and then I lose 2 life. Again, this is another way to thin the decks. So one of the things I didn't really talk about when I, describing the fact that I switched over to Rakdos was that I actually had a 42 card deck for the sole purpose of being able to, thin my deck a little bit more, especially with, again, the exiles off the mentor. I had cards like this, Dire Sight, that let me surveil and draw stuff. So I was able to really thin the deck, but I also wanted to make sure I had enough cards so I didn't really mill myself out too quickly on my own. So that's one of the reasons I went 42 instead of the regular 40 when it came to this deck. Just seeing like him stack all that land, you just quickly realize how much land he has. You're like, whoa, what else can he pull out? Because you see green, and you know that green is going to be a second half of the deck card. So actually, here you go, Hive Spine Wolverine. So actually, this is one of the cards that I didn't fully read, and I don't think my opponent read as well. So he chooses the second one here when it enters, which is Hive Spine Wolverine fights target creature token. That's one of the things on me that I didn't read. Again, I should be fully reading these cards to make sure it all works well. Obviously, you want to have trust that like everything's been read correctly and all that. And it's not a bad thing. It's just so much text on these cards that, again, I should have read it myself. He did attack one of my creatures, but it's not a creature token, so technically it shouldn't have gone through. But you live and you learn. It is a pre-release. That's all what it is when it comes to this actual set and pre-releases. It's just learning how the cards are and how they play. So when you do more competitive stuff, you're not missing out on those triggers and those calls. But I do play a sorcery right back and destroy target creature with Fell, removing his big creature so he doesn't have that on the field. I still hit with my mentor, so I do get the trigger off of that. He does create a food off the fact that his actual creature died. Again, bringing back that food for himself is really, really good. It has a lot of triggers with his enchantment and just really good ways to save himself when he's low on life. All right. Here I'm going to choose to cast a Karskishan Mage. Now, I did mention a lot of Auto Wizards, right? Here we go, another Auto Wizard. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough to pay for the Offspring 2, which is Baby Kicker, was what we like to call it. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. So that's an important trigger because it lets me ping the opponent, even if they have big creatures and they can't really get through by attacking, by still pinging other ways, like to have sorceries or like obviously non-creature spells, or in this case, removing stuff from his side of the board with my black removal spells really, really helps because I also not only get rid of his creatures, but also hit him directly. Here, he's exiling that Orator that we talked about earlier in the graveyard, bringing back that Wolverine as well. That's what he targeted from the graveyard, puts it back into his hand. doing it and putting work with that orator. I don't want to lose my mage here, so I leave it alone. But I do see that obviously, hey, he doesn't have anything on his board yet. So that way I know that at least on my turn, I can go ahead and swing through and hit and trigger my mentor as well. Fountain Port Bell, I really like this card. You put it down, quickly look for a basic, and it goes, reveal it. You put that card on top of the deck after you shuffle and everything, and then you can actually just pay one and sacrifice the bell, and then you can draw a card. So you can quickly do that without missing a beat, and especially if you're missing that land drop, you can get that right on your turn quickly. All right, like I said, you want to go straight for the attacking, and you worry about mostly in your second main phase with this deck. So what do we have here? 2 land. Rough, but again, thinning the deck, we already have a good amount of lands here. 3 swamps, 3 mountains. That's really good. A lot of my creatures didn't cost more than 4, so it's a good way to know, hey, I can cast anything I want if I see it, but we don't have to worry about it here. We have Ravine Raider, which is Menace. You can pay 1 in a black, and then Ravine Raider gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So in this case, it's a good blocker, especially going against that orator coming through, so we can block it in case we need to. But I know that he has that Wolverine in his hand. It's like, oh, he's going to cast it now. He's going to cast later. What is he going to do? All right, so he does cast a Wolverine. I believe he does target one of my creatures here. Which, again, should have read the card. I mean, it is what it is. It's fights a creature token, not a creature, but, you know. You can see the one line there in the middle. It says, High Spine Wolverine fights target. Like, you know, and then creature and token on the next, you know, sentence. So it looks like it's kind of hard to read that quickly, and if it's your first time seeing these cards, it's a lot of stuff to put together, and then you can't really read all of it. So again, that's on me, just making sure I read the cards every time. I mean, it's a friendly casual environment, so it's not crazy, and it's all you want to do is have fun. But again, it's something that you realize, okay, I missed that, so now I know when I see that card, I know exactly what it does, and I know that it can't attack a creature directly. All right, so here he starts actually going after me for the mill. So he sacrificed the permanent and the Fountain Port Bell, and he targets me to mill those cards. So he starts seeing that, you know, I'm exiling stuff at the top of my library, so I'm taking stuff off the library myself, and then he starts targeting me with the mill effect. So he starts thinning my deck for me as well. I do see some good cards kind of jump into the graveyard, but it's like, okay, I can work around this. Again, I have enough, you know, mana to play what I need. Here, play Feed the Cycle, which is, again, destroy target creature or planeswalker. And then I'm like, oh, I started looking at this. I'm like, did I miss the trigger off my mage? I think I did. Well, either way, his creature died. He brings a food token into play. And I think I realized here that I missed that trigger. Do I? I hope I did. Oh, I did. I did realize that I missed the trigger, and I do ping him for 1. Again, that's on me, but then again, that's one of the good things about this more casual setting. If you miss triggers like that, you're okay to kind of call it, and it's not too far ahead. All right, getting down to 7. I'm quickly doing damage here. I'm going to be exiling some good stuff. But, of course, he sacrifices that food token, gets that life back, and then mills me out for 2 before the trigger on my exile goes off on the mentor. Because it's all in the stack. All right, what do we have here? We don't need the land, so we know we're going to get rid of that. But we do get a Brazen Collector. First strike. Whenever a Brazen Collector attacks, add Mountain. Until end of turn, you don't lose his mana as steps and phases end. Usually when you have like mana floating as a phases transition, like combat phase to like second main phase, you lose the mana in that phase, but in this case, this one wouldn't. And then I go ahead and cast a Moonrise Cleric, which is a really good card, plus it has flying. Whenever Moonrise Cleric attacks, you also gain 1 life. So I started seeing, okay, it's getting towards the second half of the map. Obviously, he's getting lower on health, but if he casts bigger creatures because of the green cards that he has, I need ways to get around that, and because my smaller creatures are not going to be able to hit directly. So flying was a good call in this case, and hoping that I can get through with it as well. Especially every time I attack, I also gain life, so it also really helps me out. You always gotta find ways to get around it, but yeah, you see that when they have Golgari, you see green, you know big creatures are coming without a doubt. Corpseberry Cultivator. Oh, I love this card. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may forage. Now, forage is you sacrifice a food token, or you exile 3 cards from your graveyard, and whenever you forage, you put a +1/+1 counter on Corpseberry Cultivator. So here, he sacrifices that food token. Of course, that triggers the sacrificing permanent on his talent, and he can choose to mill me out, and he puts a +1/+1 on his Corpseberry Cultivator. Again, I'm telling you, his deck was sick. It was insane. Just the amount of triggers and synergies that work well together, just all around food tokens. That's a lot of fun. Oh, I started to quickly realize, man, it's gonna be tougher than I thought as he keeps like gaining the life. I can't really go straight to the face here with everything. Oh, he actually realizes, again, it's a smaller deck, so he starts counting the cards, so he knows, hey, how close are you to getting milled out? It's very important information. And also helps me know, like, hey, I didn't even start counting my own cards. Like, how close am I to getting milled out? Like, okay, we got to go straight to the face. We can't hesitate because he can mill me out pretty quickly. 3 for Nocturnal Hunger, gift of food. I think on this case, I don't gift it, but I do destroy target creature and I lose 2 life. I know that in this case, he's not really trying to attack me directly, but he's trying to go ahead and make sure that he mills me out. So I know once you do that, life resource does not matter. Use it up as much as I can. It triggers off my mage, so he does get hit for 1, and then I go straight out. You see the aggressiveness turn once he starts counting the cards in my deck for milling. I start quickly realizing I have to go just aggro it out. And what was up? So here again, early winter coming in clutch for him. Instant. It's a costly instant, but he saved it well and just made sure, hey, he knows I'm gonna grow aggressive, and he exiles my creature there. Also, I did miss a trigger off that cleric. I should have gained a life. Again, doesn't really matter and make much difference in the end game of things, but again, triggers on effects on things I got to keep track of. It's just reminders of myself as I'm going over these videos and going over the actual, like the matches that I have. It's like quickly things to remember. Hey, you're supposed to do these things. So got him down to 5. What else can I do here? His creature dies, he creates a food token. Man, like that talent, that enchantment class is insane. I just, oh my god. We'll go over it again at the end of the match because I think it's a very, very important card, and the fact they had it in turn 1 is insane. Sunspine links. Players can't gain life, which I was hoping that he couldn't do with this food token. Damage can't be prevented. When Sunspine links enters, it deals damage to each player equal to the number of non-basic lands that player controls. Doesn't really make a lot of effect here, but he did have 1 non-basic land, so he took that 1 damage. He's at 4. I can do 4 damage with my creatures if he doesn't have any blockers, so we're just hoping to get around that. He can gain any life thanks to my links, but again, he has another Orator. He's going to exile it, bring back that Wolverine 1 more time, and again, just having that graveyard recursion on those 3 creatures is just, well, specifically on that Wolverine is very, very important for him. Even if he's bringing it out and not attacking me, that's still a big creature to have as a blocker or an attacker in his case. But in this case, I think he wanted more to have it as a blocker in order to continue to mill me out at this point. So again, that graveyard recursion was very, very important for him. But again, 3rd time's, unlucky. He is going to go ahead and target another of my creatures. And again, that's on me. Not the fault of my opponent at all. It's on me to read the card. I should have read that is creature token. But hey, it happens. And it is what it is. Just as I was like looking at this video and going through it, I was like, no, how did I miss that? So that's why I keep bringing it up. It's just a reminder to myself more than anything. You make sure you read the cards. Read the cards. All right, because that's a good one. I mean, that's a really good card. That you cast non-creature spells or an otter spell, you keep doing damage. And I think did I miss an otter spell trigger? I'm not sure. See, that's one of the things. Like looking back and see what it is that exactly that I missed or did or how I played. But here you can quickly see me going to, okay, I got to be aggressive. I got to see how I can attack. Try to get through as fast as I can to get rid of that 4 damage. Because if not, he's going to end up milling me out. No longer have the Mentor on my end as well. So that's a big, big disadvantage because I'm not able to exile those cards in order to play things that I need. Alania's Pathmaker, though, another card. So this one, when it enters, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. Funny enough, I ended up exiling another Alania's Pathmaker, so I can still thin my deck out, exile another card. Unfortunately, there's a bunch of glare there, but it is another Alania, so I can play at the next turn, exile the next card, and again, continue thinning the deck. Swinging here with his links, I know like he can't gain life, but I'm trying to get directly to those, directly to that 4, trying to see if I can hit it directly. But he creates another food token. I don't know. I don't know if that attack with that links was the right play. Maybe I should have waited, attack with other things differently to try to get, like little pings here and there in order to get through. I did have another Alanius coming through. Maybe I would have exiled something else different for the top card, but you know, you live and you learn. At that point, I was trying to be really aggressive and just trying to get rid of any creature he had. Honored Dray Leader here. It's a trample. When Honored Dray Leader enters, put +1/+1 counter on it for each other squirrel and or food you control. That's gonna be a really good card. That's gonna be seeing a lot of play in like food and squirrel deck, specifically squirrel deck. Because coming in with the +1/+1 for having either squirrel or food is insane. Polywallop. That's a great instant as well. Target creature you control deals damage equal to twice its power to target creature you don't control. Again, he gets rid of my Pathmaker here, bringing my actual creatures down so I can't attack directly as much. And that's one of the things he needs. He's leaving my smaller powered creature there, because even if I do attack, he can block it, or even if I do get through, I'm not going to do that much damage. Can't really see what I have in hand here in order to play it. All right, playing the Pathmaker. Let's see what I can exile off the top. Ooh, the glare's making it difficult to see here. Do I have anything else for removal? I mean, I'm only going to be able to hit with my smaller creature, but let's see. Okay, so another Orator, just bringing more stuff out, hoping that in the next turn after this I can just swing like tough and hope I can get those hits is what I'm saying. Yeah, he's going to sacrifice, gain life, trigger the mill. At this point, I'm starting to realize maybe that Link's play wasn't the best, because even if he was milling me, he wouldn't have gained the life. I know. Yeah, maybe if I would have just like gone tougher and just like had more creatures in play in order to like have a bigger swing, this probably would have been the play. Yeah, sacrifice the food. Mill me out some more, because he did the other food sacrifice at the end at my end step, so that was my turn. Now this time it's on his turn. Mills me out. I can see here I don't have a lot of cards left. What else? What else? Yeah, like towards the end of the game, when it comes to green, it's always good. This is a good card, the Huskbuster Swarm. So this spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature card you own in exile and in your graveyard. The fact that it counts cards in exile is nuts. Like, this guy already had a bunch of creatures in his actual graveyard, but it actually counts exile cards? What? That's a nuts card, dude. Yeah, so it only cost him 1 black. Like, it would pretty much cast it almost for free. It's a 6/6, obviously a very late in the game card, which is exactly what he needed to kind of control the game, make sure I couldn't swing and hit him too hard. And this is my last card play. As you can see, he makes me draw or anything else, I lose the game. Or if I have to, even if he just ends his turn, I have to draw, then I lose the game. Brambleguard Captain. All right, so this one is at the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +X+0 until end of turn, where X is Brambleguard Captain's power. Okay, I think I was just trying to do like a last minute play and try to count the power if I were to give the power to somebody, see how much power it would have, and seeing if it was enough to get through. I mean, when he was at 4, maybe, but the fact that he's at 10 here, I don't think I have a play. The last minute gasp and like desperation and trying to see if I can get the win, and I think I counted that I couldn't. So Fountain Port Bell, I mentioned earlier, exact a card, and then I sacrifice the bell to draw a card, which in essence makes me lose the game because it was over. I just kind of want to do the interaction, and I have again. So here we go to match number 2. So match number 2, he ended up getting the class, the talent again, right at the beginning. So it was like really tough to just play against the actual card. Turn 1 on both matches. I mean, it's honestly like that card is sweet. It's insane. It costs 1, first of all, 1 black. So let's go over it. It's Scavenger's Talent. It costs 1 blank or 1 swamp. Whenever one or more creatures you control dies, create a food token. So good. Either way, you can create a food token just by blocking or whenever you attack, if it dies. This ability triggers only once per turn. So again, not too many times, but it is per turn. So again, it can happen on his turn, it can happen on my turn. It's still just once per turn. You go to level 2, which you quickly did as well, because it's again only 1 in a black to go to level 2. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, target player mills 2 cards. So you can mill yourself if you have recursion in your actual deck to bring stuff back from your graveyard. So you know, hey, I'm going to mill myself because I want to bring stuff back from the graveyard. Especially if it's bigger creatures, you can bring back easier with like those spells that bring them back from the dead. instead of having paying the full mana. But you can do what he did in this case instead, and just switch it over and send it against me and just mill me out. Especially if you're gonna have food tokens being created, and then sacrifice those food tokens, you gain the life. You mill, like you target the opponent, you make them mill. So like in this pre-release package, or in this actual package of Bloomburrow within its set, it's a very, very powerful card. Again, a 40 card deck is already very small, so having somebody mill you out and attack you, like, or have you mill every turn, is it gets really, really tough and devastating, as we saw. Also, obviously in my case, I was running Rakdos with a lot of exile and deck thinning, so doing that already at the beginning was kind of already making my deck a lot smaller, thinning my deck out to try to get those good cards that I wanted to get out to play. And of course, the opponent quickly realized that and switched the milling from himself over to me instead. He was trying to look for a graveyard recursion, but then he saw that he can just mill me out instead, and I was going to be a bigger and better play. And at the end of the day, it was. So it's very, very smart, very good switch on his end, and I really, really do appreciate just playing against this card. Now, playing against this card, both matches on turn 1, that sucked. But that's the lay of the land. That's how that's how the cookie crumbles, as they say. And Scavenger's Talent, I definitely, as soon as I saw that card and played against me, I didn't open it in my pre-release, but when I looked at my play booster and I looked at the other cards, I was like, okay, if I see this card, I'm getting it, because I think I want to build something around this deck. This card, you see it already within his Golgari deck. There's already a lot of synergy within Bloomburrow. There's a lot of great Golgari decks already within Standard, and I'm looking forward to building Standard deck for myself as well. I already have a Modern, Pioneer deck, and of course different Commander decks. So Standard is the one deck that I wanted to build next, now that Bloomburrow is out. So I'm definitely looking to see if I can maybe put this one in there. Again, I'm a big Rakdos player, as you saw from my pre-release deck as well. So my shift over it really helped out. And I think this match itself was just a lot of fun. It's a lot of interactions, a lot of removals, quickly back and forth, like whether he's sticking my stuff out, whether he's milling me out. I'm trying to stick his stuff and hit him, like ping him for stuff in there. Having those otters there for like the sorcery spells as well, like triggering and hitting him for stuff. It was just a fun deck. But what did you guys think of the match? I mean, did you guys enjoy me going over it this way? I know I was obviously talking a lot and just talking about all the interactions I had with this actual thing, and I'm trying to, I like going over the matches that I play. I try to record all my modern matches when I do them weekly at the LGS. One of the things that is, it helps me like realize the lines on my actual decks as I'm playing them. Now, I don't have time to obviously break them down each week and edit them out, but try my best to get into that mode where I can try to edit out every week, especially the weekly matches I have leading into now the RCQ season is for Modern. I play Mardu, so trying to jump into that. But did you guys enjoy this type of video? Would you guys see more of it? I mean, what else would you like me to include in this type of video? This was one match, so obviously having a very quick dive into the match. And of course, if you want to see more matches, I can always do that. It's definitely going to be a lot longer for the actual thing, especially because I have to go through all the actions. But if you guys enjoy it, I'm definitely down to do more work and put it into it as well. But how did you guys enjoy Bloomburrow? How did you do in your pre-releases? Let me know in the comments down below. Of course, if you're looking for any singles or sealed product for TCGs, check out your LGSs first and foremost. Always support them. But if you want to check out the one place and your one-stop shop for your singles and sealed products for TCGs, check out my affiliate link down below at tcgplayer.com. Again, that has all your TCGs needs. So whether it's Magic, Lorcana, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, or even the new Star Wars TCG that just came out, TCG Player, that's your one-stop shop for everything that you need. And if you want to support more directly, patreon.com/Alexis Lopez TCG. You have behind the scenes, Discord access as well. You can find me there a little bit more directly. I always post on Instagram as well as I'm doing the pre-releases and other tournaments for updates as well, so you guys can follow me on the socials. And if you guys like this video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. And I really, really appreciate y'all hanging out with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed, again, this small breakdown of the pre-release when it comes to Bloomburrow. So I'm hoping to try to do more of these videos when it comes to all the pre-releases. It's just a lot of fun, people like seeing that I'm recording the matches. I show them how I recorded, and obviously, as you can see there, I'm trying to get a little bit better as trying to show as much as I can when it comes to these sets. And honestly, it really helps me out to learn the set itself as well, because I don't open anything. And then, obviously I open what I play what I open, and then seeing what other people are playing, I start looking at cards like Scavenger's Talent, and I was like, whoa, that was a great card. I think I want to build something around that, or at least want to include that in a certain commander deck. Maybe it's a mill commander deck, or something where you can do a food deck. So jumping in and trying to see what I can do with those cards, it's always a lot of fun. But again, all the YouTube algorithm stuff always helps the channel grow, and I really, really appreciate it. As always, I hope you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever it is that you may be. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you folks next time. Take care.